What is going on, guys? It is your boy Delonte Daniels and Ed Oliver, and a special guest, Troy Haliburton, writer with the Washington City Paper, also a reporter for the Washington Wizards, joining us today. We got a lot of questions, trade stuff, new Wizards coming in, Wizards going out. Let's get right into it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, guys? I want to thank you all for making Locked On Wizards your first listen each and every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Troy Haliburton, thank you for coming in. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing all right, Delonte and Ed. How you guys doing? I'm here to talk some Wizards, and it's happy that the team is actually winning some games. So I feel like all is better, but not right in Wizards Twitter world.
Yeah, it's some things going on, in the Wizards world. Some passive aggressive quotes in the post game pressers, etc., for some players. But since we had some guys go out, there's some younger guys getting more PT. I want to ask you, Troy, who are you most excited about out of all the young guys that are getting more playing time currently?
Well, right now, I'm currently most excited about Corey Kispert and what he is able to show. Really, he is the biggest beneficiary of Bradley Beal deciding to go ahead and get that surgery on his wrist. And so now Corey Kispert has inserted himself into the starting lineup at the shooting guard position. And so I'm really excited to see, what he can offer. I believe he's averaging about 12 points per game over his last 5 games. And so, he's making a really late push for one of those all rookie spots.
Yeah, I think Corey Kispert, he's been more comfortable in the starting lineup at times than it has been off the bench. And I think because of his skill set, he's a plug and play guy. I think he was a plug and play guy coming out. And I think that's why I liked his pick in the 15 spot when the Wizards took him. The shooting, you would like to see it be a little more consistent for sure, but I think it would definitely come along. His form is good. Everything is good. It's just what's impressed me the most about Corey Kispert is all the other things outside of shooting the ball, cutting to the basket in between game. All that has been very surprising. I know you've seen it a little bit if you watched Gonzaga games last year or Gonzaga highlights of him, but it shows that you have a guy like Davis Bertans who was more just strictly shooting. When Corey Kispert came in and kind of made him a little bit more expendable because his game was a little more fleshed out and he did a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with what you just said. I mean, Kispert is shown a lot as far as his cutting ability, his passing ability, his defensive versatility. The only thing that he really hasn't shown is the shooting ability, and that's actually the one skill that I'm really not that much worried about. I kind of did you see this clip of Duncan Robinson from last week when he played against the Wizards, and it was just a clip of him like running around screens and trying to get open and shoot a 3-point shot, and I thought that was a very poignant clip to be on the internet. And it kind of reminded me a lot about with Kispert is that it's hard to get open in the NBA on those 3-point shots. And Duncan Robinson, this is his I think was going into his 3rd or 4th year into the league. And so Kispert, once he gets his legs underneath of him and he's able to figure out how to run around and also still knock down his shots, I think that's when we'll see him take his game to the next level. But he's going through a little bit of the motions as a rookie player. But I think that we can all have confidence in what he will develop into because of all the things that he's shown with his outside game besides just shooting the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, he I like how you mentioned him being a playmaker. You saw the lob that he threw to Thomas Bryant. So he's an underrated passer, and he's athletic too, man. He's had a couple dunks there. I think he's going to catch a body. He's going to catch a body before the end of the year. So, but yeah, seeing him and Deni get an opportunity to grow, get more playing time, have a career high in rebounds. Rui as well. Hopefully, Rui can recover. So, that's a good question. And the young guys get more of an opportunity to grow with other guys being out and other guys being traded. But of course, we want to get to the trade. The whole trade deadline. How did you feel about the trades that Tommy Shepard made? And if you had to give a grade on the Trez trade and what we got for Trez, and of course the Porzingis trade and what we gave up for Porzingis, and also the Aaron Holiday trade, if you had to group them all together, or if you want to do one by one, if you want to give a grade or analysis.
Well, if I had to group them all together, I would give Tommy Shepard a B for just the trade deadline in general. I think that what he has kind of shown he's perfected is he's a fireman arsonist, just like Ernie Grunfeld. So he set a fire with the contracts of Davis Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie, but he was able to put out that fire by moving those albatross contracts out and bringing in a guy like Porzingis. And so when you look at what he was able to do, you took Davis Bertans, who was not even in the Wizards rotation, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who I know that the sample size hadn't been as large as they would have liked, but over 50 games, he showed that he didn't fit in with this team. So you took in a guy who was out of the rotation and a guy who didn't fit, and you turned that into a former All-Star. Now, albeit Porzingis has shown that he's been injury prone over the last few seasons, and as a matter of fact, he is currently injured right now and not able to play. So, that kind of is a little bit concerning as far as he goes. But I do think that his overall talent is something that the Wizards probably needed and something that will help them be able to sell to Bradley Beal. As far as the other trades that go, I think that the Aaron Holiday deal, I really don't have much to say about that, although I would put up some negative marks on the fact that the Wizards traded a first-round draft pick that they got from the Los Angeles Lakers to the Indiana Pacers for Aaron Holiday, and then now they traded him out for just cash considerations. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not really a fan of that in particular. But as far as the other trade, the Montrezl Harrell trade to the Charlotte Hornets, I think that this might have been one of those things where addition by subtraction. I believe that Montrez had probably overstayed his welcome in DC. I think he might have talked his way out of town. And so with them trading him out and bringing back Ish Smith, who was a great locker room presence with the team over the last 2 years, and, a guy who actually is going to have to play the point guard position for them since, they traded out Spencer Dinwiddie. I think that was a pretty good deal for them. So like I said, an addition by subtraction kind of move.
Definitely. It's crazy how far we came with Trez, him getting MVP chance, him being top 10 in the MVP ladder at the beginning, him doing the, him and Bradley Beal, laughing after games after we were winning, to come into this situation, a couple of days before the trade deadline. So, but I'm pretty much with you on Tommy Shepard. I think we echo each other about how he had to put out some fires. Me and D said the same thing about, him creating the mess and then him, cleaning up the mess. So it kind of like cancels each other out.
Yeah. Go ahead, Troy.
No, I was going to say, yeah. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is the fact that, he gave out those contracts. And so when you start to look at some of the moves that Tommy Shepard has made since he's taken over, when you add up the column of good moves and bad moves, he's got a lot of, pretty suspect moves. So, it's very curious to see, how this one is going to work out with Porzingis.
Yeah, and that's why I gave the grade a B too, because he's the one who signed those two guys to those contracts. So I couldn't say, oh, this is an A trade because you're cleaning up a mess that you made. So I agree 100% with a B grade. And speaking about a guy like Davis Bertans, he had his press conference with the Mavericks, and he spoke about how it was tough to have team chemistry when every single day the team is basically fighting with each other about, I want to get more minutes. and I want a bigger role. What did you think when he first said that? Because it always felt like the Wizards, Bertans and then Yavdia got into it. Then we heard about KCP and Montrez at halftime getting into it. So it's not a real big surprise, but what was your initial thoughts when you saw those quotes?
Yeah, my initial thoughts was it sounds about right as far as all of the sourcing that I had coming out of that building, and I don't want to put all of the blame onto Montrezl Harrell because I'm sure that there were other players who were disgruntled, and I didn't really hear much about Bertans being disgruntled as far as his playing time goes. I think that he was just happy that the check's going to clear anyway for him. So I think that he was trying to assert himself as more of a leader, and I don't know if that was being received as well as he would have liked. And so I think he just kind of kept quiet. But really, the main guy that I kept hearing about, and this was like weeks ago, was that Montrezl Harrell was becoming a bit of a problem inside the locker room. And really, I think that it just goes to the fact that he's such an outspoken person in general, anyway. And so when you have stuff not going well, and with him being such an outspoken person, and the Wizards locker room, they really aren't. The Wizards under Bradley Beal's leadership really isn't a wear your emotions on your sleeve type of team. Like I think that a lot of this has to come back to Brad's style of leadership and not being able to galvanize the group in a way that was positive. And so when you don't have that positive leadership, when you don't have that guy in the room who is galvanizing the group, then that leaves the door open for other people to assert themselves as vocal leaders of the team. And so I think that Montrez had with nobody appointed him a leader, he kind of appointed himself this guy, and I think that his voice was just beginning to wear thin on his teammates.
Yeah, it's interesting because Spencer Dinwiddie, when he was talking to reporters as well, he said he tried to step up and be a leader too, and that was kind of not welcome. So did you hear anything about Spencer Dinwiddie as well?
Yeah, well, I didn't hear about Spencer. I did hear that as far as him stepping up and trying to be a leader, and that there was a little bit of growing tension between he and Brad. But from my understanding, that was more so an on the court problem, like the fact that they couldn't coexist, and then I think that there was frustration from both players about the fact that they couldn't coexist. But I don't think that there was pretty much any tension there. But really, as far as like the off the court stuff, I think that like the team in general was just growing very weary of Montrez, and he was just becoming overbearing to them, and people didn't like coming into work because they knew that Montrez was going to be getting on them about something. So and this was a guy who he had a good resume as far as a former sixth man of the year, but he also has never really gotten paid like he's wanted to get paid in the NBA. And so I think that he was looking at the numbers that he was putting up with the Wizards at the beginning of the year and thinking that he might have been lining himself up for a bigger payday in free agency this offseason. And so when he started to see that slip away, I think that's when he started to become even more vocal, and I just don't think that it was very well received by this Wizards group.
Yeah, I think it was just a mess. It was becoming a mess. You had the assistant coach incident with the fan. It was just stuff needed to change, and everybody could see it. You didn't have to be an insider on the team to see that it was just a lot of bad things going on. And you just know it happens in these situations every time. The tea starts to get spilled when guys get moved, etc. Even Chris Miller, he said we actually had some people in here that was real arrogant that didn't have the resume. So it just goes to show that situation was real toxic. It seems like it was just a toxic locker room. Hey, you got anything?
We can get to a quick word, but I do want to talk about West too, because I feel like Montrez said things about he said that West doesn't make adjustments, so that's basically calling out the coach as well. And then earlier in the year, even when we were winning, we were like 10-3. The article came out from the Athletic saying that Montrezl said they, even a blind squirrel can find a nut or something about getting touches. Spencer complaining about the offense as well. So kind of seemed like a disconnect with the coaching as well. And it was a kind of a toxic situation for West too. And it looks like they tuned him out. They weren't listening to him either. The rumor that the prisoners are running the asylum as well. So I just wanted to know if you heard anything about West and what the guys felt. Was there a disconnect or just guys started to tune him out?
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment to kind of criticize Wes Unseld Jr. here. I think that guys were frustrated. A lot of people were frustrated with him. I think that's Brad included with how the offense was being run and his lack of adjustments. And so I honestly do think that there are some questions with not only his leadership style but his X's and O's style as far as coaching right now. And so I am willing to give him a grace at this point because he is a first-year head coach. And so for a guy who came in, it was so highly touted with his knowledge of the game. I think that once he is figuring out how to navigate and manage all these different personalities, then maybe he will feel it within himself to be more assertive and forceful with his teaching style. And so, like I said, I'm willing to give him some grace because he is a first-year head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough that he came into a situation. That would be tough for any coach. But you just have to have a strong voice with personalities like Trez, Bill, Spencer. These are guys that have, they put up numbers in the league, so they're going to have egos.
Yeah, agreed. So I agree. I give Wes a grace period too. It's tough for a rookie head coach, especially in this type of situation. But before we get to more questions for our guy Troy, we do have to get to a message from our friends over at Prize Picks. All right, NBA fans, are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? Then you need to try the award-winning app Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this, and we know you will too. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Prize Picks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Prize Picks offers any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds, even steals. Prize Picks allows mixed sports entry. For example, you could have took the over on Burrow passing yards and the under on Kyle Kuzma points. And Prize Picks doesn't just offer NBA. They have options on the college basketball, college football, NFL, MLB, soccer, MMA, and more. For a limited time, Prize Picks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point, but you must use code NBA. That's right, this is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans. Sign up today and use code NBA. $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point. Well, guys, I want to thank you once again for making Locked On Wizards your first listen each and every day. Now, for your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So, Ed, let's get right back into the questions.
All right. So do you think it's the best interest for the Wizards to get the best lottery odds or go by the Ted Leonsis model of we will never ever tank?
I'm gonna have to go against brother Ted here. I think that the best chance for the Wizards to lead to success would be for them to tank. I think that that I wouldn't go out there and be trying to sign any point guards. I wouldn't be trying to do anything. Just let the young players go out there and play, do their thing. Let them try to develop as much as they can. If they win games, that's great. If they don't win games, even better. I think that when you look at the Wizards and the opportunities that have been afforded to them in recent years, there hasn't really been much. So if they want to try to get out of this rut, they need a big swing and the biggest swings come in the NBA draft. And so when you look at a team like Toronto last year, who didn't make the playoffs, and they were able to quote unquote tank. These are Messiah Ujiri's words, not mine. The Tampa tank, he called it. They ended up getting the 4th overall pick and drafting Scotty Barnes, who looks like a great 3-and-D type player who's going to be a nice foundational building block for them. Now, if the Wizards were to be so lucky to go out there and lose some games and find themselves with some lucky lottery odds, they might end up with themselves with the top 4 pick, and that would greatly increase their chances of being able to get a foundational piece to add next to Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis and their 3 young former first round draft picks, and that will keep the ball rolling for this team as far as a rebuild is concerned. So it's an easy answer for me. I think they should tank and try to get the best draft lottery odds.
Yeah, and put him next to Kyle Kuzma. Somebody commented that.
Can't forget about Kyle. Kyle Kuzma might be looking for that extension. You know, messing around, keep playing like he's playing. So yes, I apologize. You are correct, Ed. Putting next to Kyle Kuzma, might be the real leader of this team.
No, seriously. I mean, even on the TNT game where we're getting blown out by the Bucks, he sounded like a vocal leader. He was telling Deni, just shoot the ball, go do this, go do that. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's of course you want the moral thing to say or the competitive thing to say, of course, is like, yeah, let's go out there, let's win games. But, realistically in the future, to have foresight, like you said, Masai Ujiri, who's one of the best GMs in the game, it probably is in our best interest to get lottery pick. You got guys like Jaden Ivey out there, Ty Washington. You can end up with Chet Holmgren, Paolo Beccaro. I mean, there's some good guys in this draft. I like this draft a lot. There's a couple guys from Duke, like I said, Gonzaga, Kentucky. You get one of them boys, and they can change this team. They can help us out because we're not going to land a big fish in free agency. We're just not one of those teams. And the free agency pool this year isn't that great anyway. So I think it would be the best interest to try to get the best lottery odds.
Yeah, I think it's logical to try to get the best odds right now. Your best player's out. Porzingis is also out currently. Who knows how often and how heavy you want to go, knowing his injury history. It just makes sense to try to get the best possible pick. The Warriors did it, not comparing the Wizards to the Warriors, but they ended up with Wiseman. They ended up with Kuminga, who looks like a really good piece right now, currently getting valuable playing time on that team, and Moses Moody. So it's nothing wrong with taking a year off, but not being blatant about it, but trying to get yourself the best odds going into the next season where you want to compete.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are both giving great examples, and I think that the Wizards they have to look. What they've been doing isn't working. Finishing as the 8th seed, 9th seed, that's not working. So maybe they should try something different. Like that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, 100%. I think they should switch it up too. And I'm glad you guys also brought up the point about Kyle Kuzma and leadership, because I think he's the leader on the team as well. And I don't look at it as a shot at Brad, because I've said it before. The best player doesn't always have to be the leader of the team. Like, to go back to the Warriors, Draymond Green isn't the best player on the Warriors, but I feel like Draymond Green is the backbone of that team. I feel like he's the vocal leader and locker room leader of that team. He's very important to that team. Is he the best player? No. But I think Kyle Kuzma has done a great job, leader-wise, as far as with the Wizards. I think he just gets it. He's one of those guys who I feel like he just gets it.
Yeah, Kuzma definitely gets it as far as just his style of leadership. I think that when you look at his career, the fact that he came in with guys like Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball, and I think with the Lakers, and I think that he showed even the Lakers back then that he was responsible and an adult in a room full of guys who he was playing with a cast of characters, and so then he also. After those guys were shipped out and they brought in Anthony Davis, he got a chance to learn under the tutelage of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And so he learned what it was like to, go from a guy who was taking, any shot he wanted on the court to, having to be relegated to standing in the corner and kind of wait for the ball to come to him. So he's kind of seen both sides of that coin. And so I think that, with his past experiences in the NBA, that makes for him to be a guy that other guys in the Wizards locker room should be listening to because he's been through that before.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. I'm been impressed, outside of the on court things. I've just been impressed as far as Kyle Kuzma's leadership. So I'm glad you guys brought that up. But Troy, your thoughts on Deni, Rui, and Corey Kispert's ceiling? Do you feel like their ceiling, like a guy like Rui and Deni, are really good playoff rotational pieces? Do you think possibly maybe Rui can get to a point where he can be like one of those fringe all-star type of guys? And also Deni Avdija at point guard. Could we see that potentially?
Yeah, so it's actually funny because I was talking to a friend of mine who works in the front office for another NBA team, and we were talking about kind of evaluating those Wizards 3 young prospects, and it was very interesting to me to hear an outsider's perspective. And basically, what he told me was that around the league, that people would rank the prospects as Kispert, Deni, then Rui, and Rui almost as a distant third in that grouping. And so I think that, as Wizards fans, we probably have to start reevaluating what we're going to see from Rui Hachimura. I think that, the things that he does well on the court are not really, conducive to the things that other NBA teams are looking for. And so, this is a guy who, his mid-range jumper is deadly, and he's coming out and he's showing that he can shoot the three-point shot. I think that he needs to show more confidence in his game and some of those aspects, like the three-point shooting and actually trying to move the ball around. Because I think sometimes that Rui has too much tunnel vision. Like he'll get the ball on the fast break, a 2-on-1 fast break, and just dribble all the way down and won't pass the ball to his teammate, even though his teammate might be open. So I think that there are some things that Rui definitely needs to work on with his game. Deni, he just needs to learn how to finish. He needs to develop his left hand, and he needs to learn how to finish at the rim. Every other aspect of his game, I think, is on a nice trajectory as a guy who can be a rotation player on a winning basketball team. But he needs to work on that left hand, and he needs to work on finishing at the rim. And then Kispert, I think, like I said, Kispert is the guy who I think intrigues me the most out of the Wizards' young prospects because of really his shooting ability, even though he isn't really knocking down the shot right now. But you see it with everything, his form, everything that he does, like his ability to get open. Like eventually, this guy is going to, once he figures out the NBA game, that shot is going to start falling. And we're going to be looking at a guy who is a younger version of JJ Redick almost. And when you look at how valuable JJ Redick was in the later parts of his career, if Corey Kispert can be that Orlando Magic version or that LA Clippers version of JJ Redick, that's a very valuable asset for the Wizards. So I'm really excited to see if he can continue to grow and develop into that type of player.
Yeah, I think, and with Rui, what I have liked since he's returned to the team is I feel like he's shooting the three ball really well so far, especially for his standards. And that's interesting. Corey Kispert first, and then Deni, and then the distant almost third being Rui. I know a lot of Wizards fans will probably have that flip almost and have Rui because the Wizards fans love Rui. They view him very highly. Sometimes, we as Wizards fans kind of have an issue with correctly evaluating our own talent. But, Corey Kispert is very interesting too because the NBA teams, any NBA team always could use a shooter. They always can use a shooter. And with his cutting ability, his ability to also have nice touch around the rim, I think he has an opportunity to be that really good piece, potentially out of the three, the best piece on a playoff team, and I have high hopes for him. I liked when the Wizards drafted him. I thought that was a good pick. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with Deni. I mean, he's just got to finish it. He did that last night. where he got a rebound, he actually pushed Diallo out of the way. So I love seeing stuff like that, him being aggressive, push somebody around and finish, and we want to see him dunk the ball. I know he had an ankle injury last year, but I think he'll get some of his athleticism back over the offseason once he started working on his legs. But we just want to see him finish strongly around the rim.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Deni, he's just got to start finishing stronger around the rim, man. This guy misses more layups than even Russell Westbrook. So it's becoming a bit of a thing, and it's something, like I said, he's just got to work on his left hand, have more confidence in his left hand, and have more confidence in himself finishing around the basket.
Yeah, 100%. And before we get into a couple more questions, Ed, we do have a message from our friends.
This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. I did get the Super Bowl pick correct, 23-20. It was in 2 videos ago, so you guys can check out the episode on Monday. It will show my pick, so I did get that right. Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fire coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net, but BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. So, how do you see the rotation going when Porzingis does come back? We still have a good amount of centers. Gafford, of course, is coming back. Thomas Bryant's coming back, and it looks like Porzingis is going to be playing the 5. And then we brought in Vernon Carey, so technically we would have 4 5s on the roster.
Yeah, well, I don't think Vernon Carey is going to be seeing any playing time anytime soon. I think he might be getting used to the Capital City Go-Go. I heard they're making a good playoff push, so expect to see him there. I think that ultimately, Porzingis will start at center when he does come back from his knee injury, and that he will play 30 plus minutes a night, and that means that Thomas Bryant and Daniel Gafford will split whatever time it is that is left. I do think that there was a little bit into them trying to showcase Montrezl Harrell and Thomas Bryant before the trade deadline. And now that has passed, I would expect them to try to get Daniel Gafford back into the fold, just because, they gave him a contract extension before the season started. And so, he's a guy who is a part of their long-term future. So, it will be good to see them get him back in the fold. But, I do think that, there's going to be opportunities for, those other guys, for Thomas Bryant and for Gafford to play, just because I don't foresee them, playing Porzingis and back-to-backs and, things of that nature. So I think that, when he does play, that he's going to get, the 30 minutes a night, and everybody else is going to have to get in where they fit in. And but I do think that they will be cautious with Porzingis and not really force him out there as far as just playing back-to-backs and heavy minutes.
Definitely, yeah. And the rotation has been kind of interesting still. Like Anthony Gill has really kind of gotten the same minutes as Rui, or if not more, and he's kind of got the same amount of minutes as Thomas Bryant. So, Anthony Gill has been getting as much playing time as a starter recently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Troy.
No, I was going to say Anthony Gill, I think that he's been playing a lot more recently because they've been using him as kind of like a backup center almost. And so I do think that we'll see Anthony Gill's minutes kind of decrease once Daniel Gafford comes back.
Yeah, I think Thomas Bryant is the odd guy out in this. I think Porzingis is going to play at the 5-2, and I think Daniel Gafford should not be getting any more DNPs. And I think Thomas Bryant may be the guy that gets a little more phased out. And I also think Gill minutes will drop as well. There should be no reason that Daniel Gafford isn't getting a decent amount of playing time, especially if he's back before Porzingis is back. And even when Porzingis is back, No more DMPs for him. That whole little span of him collecting DMPs for them to showcase Montrez and Thomas Bryant, that should be over with. Daniel Gafford, you gave him a contract for a reason. Play the guy. Simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a simple concept, but things like that don't really seem to go over as simple as they should when it comes to the Washington Wizards. So I'm very interested to see, because I do know that Thomas Bryant is a free agent this summer, and so man, I was just really sitting there thinking about, I wonder what happens with him. And I see a scenario where they could re-sign him and bring him back. So you never know what really Tommy Shepard is thinking with this. But I would like to see Daniel Gafford get a chance to go out there and really kind of work through some of his growing pains. If the coaching staff is frustrated with some of the things he's doing, then there's no other way for him to get better and to get through this than to go out there and play.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And to get in more into Porzingis and Bradley Beal, how do you expect their fit to go? We know Wes Unseld Jr. had a little Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic comparison going on. He didn't say those two names exactly, but we all knew what he meant. How do you expect Brad and Porzingis to fit?
Well, if I know he didn't use those names, because that would have been blasphemous, because this ain't that. But what I will say is that they do fit well next to each other because of Porzingis' ability to stretch the floor. And so when you look at a guy like Brad, who, over the last, 3 or 4 seasons, his 3-point shooting has, almost steadily declined. And that's because he's getting a lot of his baskets really driving to the basket and shooting those mid-range jumpers. And so when you look at a guy who plays like that, spacing on the floor is more important than ever. And so when you have a guy like Porzingis who's shooting 35% plus from 3-point range, he's actually shooting better than Brad from 3-point range. That is going to be very helpful as far as the spacing on the court. And so if you're able to have your center who's able to draw out the opposing big man and take away that paint protection, then I think that there will be a nice, instead of pick and roll game, I think there will be a nice pick and pop game between Brad and Porzingis, and that makes for a great fit. And conversely, on the defensive end, that Porzingis is a nice rim protector himself. And so when you look at the Wizards and some of their coverages, if Porzingis is going to be playing that drop style defense, I would like to see him get into his Brook Lopez bag and go out there and try to really become a defensive anchor for this Wizards team.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see as well. With Bradley Beal, it's always been a backcourt guy. It's never really been a really good all-star caliber front court guy. So I think will be interesting to see. I definitely don't see Murray and Jokic either. Or any shades of that. In my opinion, that's pretty crazy. But I think it could definitely, the pick and pop aspect of it. And Porzingis, I'll definitely want to see him take advantage of those mismatches down low, being back to the basket. I know he talked about wanting to get away from just standing at the 3-point line and just shooting a bunch of threes. And he wants to get down low a little bit. And I think that'll help Bradley Beal and the rest of the offense out in general. You're 7'3". You definitely are going to be having a lot of height advantages on a couple different centers when you go up against them. And that opens up the offense. The guys are going to have to respect Porzingis down there, bring some double teams at times. That open up Brad for possibly more just simple catch and shoot threes, which he doesn't really do as much anymore since his offensive game has expanded, which could contribute to the lack and drop of 3-point percentage.
Yeah, I'm excited for the pick and roll, pick and pop. Yeah, it's not going to be like Jokic. We're not going to see behind the back passes or behind the head type passes. Jokic averages 7 to 8 assists per game, and Porzingis' career high in assists is 2 a game. So he's just not on that level. Nobody's on that level as Jokic as a big passing, maybe Sabonis, and that's about it. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna have their own chemistry, their own thing. So I wouldn't get too much into comparisons. But I think it's a good fit. Somebody that can space the floor for Brad pick and pop, pick and roll. And when you see Porzingis, he's another guy that can create a double team, that will force a double team. We just didn't really have that with the guys that we had before the trade deadline. So I'm intrigued by the fit.
Yeah. Like I agree with both of you guys. The way they play together, I think is a good fit. It definitely ain't no Jokic and Jamal Murray. Like like Jokic is a full on table setter at the center position. He's a chef. Porzingis is a guy he's a patron who comes to the restaurant to eat food. He's not really setting up any other guys and making sure that everybody eats. So.
Yeah. And I think they, this is a guess. Of course, there was speculation that him and KP and Porzingis and Luka didn't get along. I think, Brad has a different personality than Luka. We saw him not get along with Dinwiddie, but I think these two will mesh together. That's just my opinion. I think they'll mesh well together. Of course, they got to get along together. That's going to be super, super important. But before you do head out, just some quick hitters. What's your thoughts about the Pacers game tomorrow night, keys to victory? And then also over-under guess for 2 years that Porzingis will be a Washington Wizard.
Well, first for the Pacers game tomorrow, I think that the Wizards have a good chance of going out and getting a victory just because – they're really kind of establishing themselves down low since the trade deadline has happened. And the Pacers, without Miles Turner being out there, they don't really have a proficient center. And so if the Wizards can go out there and control the boards with Thomas Bryant and Kuzma and Deni and those guys, I think that they should be able to. And I don't think that Brogdon is going to play tomorrow. And so if they can go out there and try to contain Tyrese Haliburton, then I think that they have a good chance of going out there and winning. To your second question, I would take the over on Porzingis 2 years being in Washington because you think he's got like a $33 million player option, and I would bet a lot of money that he picks that option up. Instead of trying to hit the free agent market, I think that that's a good deal for him as far as picking up that option. So I definitely foresee that in his future.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm excited for Porzingis. Hope as long as he stays healthy, I think he'll be fine. But that's all we got today. We want to thank you for coming on, Troy. Do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, man. I actually have a big article coming out tomorrow morning in the Washington City paper. It's really talking about some of the things that we were talking about today, about addition by subtraction as far as the Wizards and their moves at the trade deadline. So if anybody's listening to this, go click on the Washington City paper tomorrow and give it a read.
Definitely. And just let the people know your Twitter as well.
Yeah, and my Twitter handle is at Troy Haliburton, Halibur, Burr, like Gucci Man said. But yeah, people can go and find me there. I'm also very engaging when it comes to talking to people on Twitter. So just make sure that every conversation is led with respect, and I will engage and we can talk all day as far as discussing the Wizards and really anything on Twitter. I like talking about politics. I like talking about food. I like talking about other sports, Winter Olympics, whatever it is. As long as people come correct with respect, I'm willing to engage.
Definitely, yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Go check out the article, guys. Make sure you check it out. Washington City paper.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me, man. Hey, you guys out here shining. Love to see it. You brothers keep doing your thing out here, man. Keep doing. We need these voices in Wizards Twitter of nice, sane, and informative people.
Yeah. I heard you keeping the peace in the Wizards Twitter spaces after the 35.
Hey, man, I had to go full dab mode on them, man. It was some real problematic stuff being spoken. Had to let them know, man. That stuff ain't cool, man.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you again. Thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell as well. Hail to the Wizards. Peace.
Peace.